There we go. Business cards. So we're going to just hit print. We're going to set this up under page setup. Make sure it's under letter. Under printer, we're going to choose paper feed and make sure it's bypass tray, heavy tray paper 3. I'm going to make sure it's just 5 copies. You'll notice that on the screen it doesn't look right because it's in landscape mode. So make sure it's in portrait. Make sure actual size is on too. Come over to the paper rack and find yourself some business card stock. And make sure when you go to put this onto the tray that these are nicely put up against the paper. Let me turn on the light in here. These things need to be directly up against the paper. On the menu here, you hit copy, you choose the bypass tray, and you make sure that it's on heavy paper number 3. Alright, now just to be able to monitor this, I go to job status, go ahead and hit print, and this should print out 5. Now odds are that these 5 might get jammed because a sharp 3640 jams quite often with an 85-pound paper in the bypass tray. So what I do is I kind of, make sure that they're not doing it by finger feeding them in just a little bit. Sometimes they flow just like they are. Awesome. Cool. And there we have our business cards. Now we can just take them over to the cutter. Okay, on the cutter, push this, turn the key on, light should pop on. And as we look at this, we could see that the setup, there is only a few cuts that we need to make, so we shouldn't be constantly adjusting this, the cutter. We should be doing it smart, so we're going to do a cut at 10.5. That was where the margin was before we moved it. So first cut is 10.5 cent. I like to put a couple of scrap pieces down underneath this. That way if the cutter doesn't go all the way through, we'll filter those out later. So 10.5, push on the pedal, these two at the same time. And we got our cut at 10.5. Okay, now our next cut is going to be 7.75. You can see because paper goes a little differently inside the 3640 that even though the margins were set up correctly on the document, because the paper travels into the printer like this, you'll see that it's a little bit off on this. That's because of the paper travel inside a copy machine. Okay, the next cut, 3.5. Next cut, 3.5. I can see that these are cutting quite well, so now I can take off the spare paper. Maybe I'll put those into a notebook or something like that later on. So this is what I have so far. Next cut's 2 inches, but if you go 2 inches on this model, it will not function. So what I do is I hit clear and move the cutter manually by hitting forward. So 2 inches. If I can't get it there perfectly, what I do is I adjust this until it says 2 inches. By pushing in and rotating, I can then get that number. Now I'm just going to insert my business cards and chomp down 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches 5 times. And there we have a business cards with a no bleed. And you can see what I was talking about because of the travel that happens on our printer. You can see how it affects the quality of the product a little bit. Especially ones in the center are going to be absolutely perfect, and the ones on the outside of the stack are probably going to be a little bit off. So filter through these and make sure they're all good quality. Next time when this student maybe designs, even higher bleed or no bleed areas could occur, so you don't see this. Or we can bleed out all the way to the edge with the gray, and then you wouldn't know where it was being cut at all. And that's called a bleed. Alright, sweet. I hope you enjoyed.